Okay, welcome everybody. We're so excited to have you here. If I could invite our co-hosts to turn on their screens, it looks like everyone has. Thank you. And I'm gonna yield the floor to Dr. McCaslett.
Good evening, Panther family. This is Dwight McCaslett, your superintendent of schools. I'm so excited to be with you here tonight. This event is something we've been talking about for some time now. And part of our mission is to develop broad community ownership of how we are working together to run this district. So tonight, we'll have a number of objectives, but first of all, I want to start out and I'll introduce a few folks. If you'll give us a wave, that would be outstanding. With us, we have our board president, Jill Westmoreland is with us. We have board vice president, James Cardamine. And we have Priscilla Robinson, our board secretary. Additionally, tonight, as we begin to talk about Lone Star governance. And one of the important things tonight is that we clarify, in education, we love to use acronyms. And so you will hear us say LSG early and often. That stands for Lone Star Governance. And so this evening with us, we also have Mr. Tony Williams from Region 3. He is our Lone Star Governance coach. And as we prepare to talk a little bit more about Lone Star Governance, what it is, what it does for us, how it frames out the goals that we're focused on this year. We'll kind of begin with, I'm excited to report, and we applied for and received a Lone Star Governance grant, and we're honored with the award of a LSG leadership cohort. And so that is funding our LSG program, and we're so excited for that, and we're so committed to this process that we refer to as LSG. And I'll go ahead and I'll dive in. I want to reiterate our focus for tonight, and I'm so excited. We've got a good turnout. I'm very excited for the number of you that logged in. We hope to do this again very soon, and part of that will be from your feedback. And so this is a two-way interaction, and we hope that that you will share questions, information that you'd like to hear more about in a future meeting. We have a Q&A open, of course. If you want to put some information in there, it will help us for planning in the future. And of course, our Chief of Communication, Lee Arlett, will be moderating the meeting. We want you to be very open to submitting your questions. So the questions will go straight to Ms. Arlett. There is no question that is out of bounds. We want your questions, and so those won't be on the screen or anything. So please feel free to ask any question at all. Our questions tonight will focus primarily on the 5 goals that we're outlining, and you may have some questions as well about, well, I need to understand more about Lone Star Governance and exactly what that is. And so I'm going to start with kind of giving you my definition of it, and then I'll ask our board members, we refer to as the team of 8, myself and the 7 board members, and I'll ask them to reflect upon it as well. But I must tell you that when I came into the district, I was very excited that we were an LSG district, because for me, LSG, it's all about governance, Lone Star Governance. So, how do we, as a leadership team, a team of 8, how do we run the district, so to speak? What is our focus is most important. And the way I define it is, if anyone, and the complete transparency is you may know already, and I hope you do, that we broadcast our regular board meetings. If someone is to click on one of our links, what do we want them to see? And so that's huge for us. And part of the Lone Star Governance process is it develops a framework, if you will, of what we're going to focus on. And for us, that's student outcomes. Board meetings can vary in length, and anytime you were to sit in a board meeting or click on a board meeting and watch it online, we hope that you will take notice of the amount of time that this team of 8 is committed to speaking of student outcomes, student performance goals. And we're going to go into all 5 of those and elaborate on those even more. But at this time, I'd like to just go around in the same order and just see our team of 8, our board members that are on the panel tonight would like to add anything to their definition or understanding of Lone Star governance and how it works in this district. So Mrs. Westmoreland.
Yes. Good evening. So for me, Lone Star governance is a lot of what Dr. McHazlett has said. It's the framework in which we as the board have said we want to be able to focus more on the student outcomes. And that is what we're in the business of doing, is educating children. And so the more that we can focus and gear our meetings to that, I think the more we will see it trickle down into our classrooms and our outcomes and our data to start changing and shifting. So I think Dr. Mack did a great job of kind of introducing it. It is a framework that we have agreed as a team of 8 to kind of fall into, just because it is data driven and it is what is best practice.
Okay, Mr. Scardamai.
Awesome. Thanks. And I'm so excited to be here this evening and to be able to talk about this with everybody. So I've been on the board for 5 years and so pre-LSG into now LSG. And so for me, the reflection back is it's this incredible successful transformation that the board has gone through, the administration has gone through, the school district has gone through. We're not doing things the way we used to. Our meetings were haphazard at best, and we had a lot of topics, and now they're very organized and structured. And when you focus on the most important thing, student outcomes, then you see success in student outcomes. And so just reflecting back, I'm just excited now to come to a board meeting and to be able to talk about these things. So other than that, yeah, I'll let Mrs. Robinson go.
All right.
Good evening, Good evening, everybody. It is nice to be here. A couple of things that I see with LSG is that it is data driven. But what it has done for me, and I think our board, is help us to understand that our purpose here is the focus of the kids and the learning process and the successes. I like the point that we are being held accountable. As a board, we are held accountable. And with LSG and Tony's help, we have learned to understand that this thing is totally outside of us and all about the kids and student outcomes.
Thank you for that, Priscilla. And you really reminded me of a piece, just being in education. And I know you're an educator and many years in education with that experience. And it reminds me of the piece that, and we have multiple people on the board with education experience and are very close to schools, but the LSG portion it's really nice to be able to come together as 8 people and say, what do we, you can read the pamphlets, you can go through the trainings and some trainings about what does it mean to be a board member and what is my function. And I've already seen some of the questions that are coming in. So we will answer some of those. We'll cover some in the presentation, and we will certainly address as many as we can during the Q&A. We're going to keep this presentation under an hour. We respect your time. We want to have you back. We want to hear about more topics relating to LSG that you'd like to hear about. And so we're excited about that. But nonetheless, yes, LSG, as an educator of almost 30 years, it's so nice to have a framework, as President Westmoreland mentioned, a framework that guides us on how we work together to get things done. And what is the most important thing? Student learning, student outcomes. So it's a terrific framework. It's been a great experience for me. I'll kind of go back to our goals for a second. Remember, tonight, it's all about developing that broad community ownership of our LSG goals. What are our goals? Why do we have those goals? What is the process for getting those goals? And that's what we're here to discuss tonight. And so I'm just going to go through the goals. Before I do that, I just want to let you know, if you want to access these goals, they are on our district website. If you've been on there, you get to the homepage, you just click on our district. And when you click on our district, you will have the option to click on school board, and all of the information, pretty much all of the information that we're going to cover tonight is there for you, very concisely written, well organized. I thank Ms. Arlett for her work in getting us ready for tonight, because everything is squared away, including, we have an LSG brochure that is very concisely written. And we did that on purpose. We want to develop this broad community ownership in bite-sized pieces. We've been doing it for a good while, but we want to be visiting with you often about this so that we all develop a comfort with these goals. The goals that I'm going to share with you tonight, we recently adopted. So the way those goals operate is you adopt these goals over a 5-year period. So this is long-term strategic planning. It's something that starts now, but we will be monitoring with the board our progress towards these goals that I'm going to share over a 5-year period. But I'll also cover a little bit of what we're checking on in the interim before the end of the year, because at the end of the year, if we're just talking about something like state assessment scores, if that's what you're analyzing, it is much too late. And so we'll talk about the accountability level all the way down to kindergarten today. And so that'll be a big piece of these goals as well. But again, if you want to access that information, what we plan to do is in that same space on the website where you can find these very concisely written goals, you can come back to that and we will be posting FAQs and additional information, perhaps some videos, so that you're all comfortable with having a resource page and joining us on this journey of being together and working together on. I'm sure you will find all of these goals to be very relevant. And so I'll go ahead and start. The first 3 goals that I'm going to cover are by no accident. I think it was the legislative session before this past one where board goals were mandated through the legislature. And so our first 3 goals are a reflection of that to ensure that we're following with the district. But of course, you will hear also that we're following the legislative guidelines, but you will also see immediately that we're going much deeper and that we are monitoring and intervening in real time prior to what I refer to as the summative assessment that we see in STAR. And so the first goal is the percentage of 3rd grade students. So we're focused on 3rd grade here. That's the 1st grade level where you have a state assessment for reading. And so our first goal is the percentage of 3rd grade students who score meets or above. And so that's a level of proficiency, meets. That means they're on grade level. Everything is going well for them. So the percentage of students who meets grade level or above on the STAR reading assessment will increase 15 points between September of 2023, when we adopted these goals, all the way through August of 2028, which is the 5-year span that we're talking about. And so again, it's a 5-year goal, improving scores by 15 points. Why 15 points? Well, there's statistical analysis that leads to this. What is a reasonable growth pattern that we see? So we depended on some of the statistical formulas, if you will, to show reasonable growth across a 5-year span. So it's by no accident when we made these goals, it all starts, and I'd seen a question come in on this, so we'll get back to the question and clarify. It all begins at the campus level. And I personally, as superintendent, once these goals have started, these LSG goals have started on needs assessment. What are the needs of the district? What are the learning outcomes we want to focus on? The campus principals will come over to central office and they will join myself and the admin team. And we will go through the goals. We'll visit everything about it. What is reasonable growth? Why is it that we're targeting this goal? And so we work through that. Tony Williams works with us as well. And we get those proposed goals onto paper. And then we come to a board meeting and we share it with the board. Some of you may have been there for that board meeting where we had the dialogue of, here are the proposed LSG goals. And even in that meeting, as we were collaborative in the boardroom, superintendent talking, board members talking, administrators talking in a regular board meeting, some of those goals were honed even more during that. And that's what we want. We want voice, we want collaboration and participation. And again, if you were there, I know we had some staff members join us in that meeting. You got to see it in a live setting to where how we work together, hone these goals and make sure they're relevant moving forward. And so that was goal number 1. I said that I was going to mention this. I'm going to do it now. If we're only going to focus on 3rd grade, And if we're only going to focus on third grade at the end of the year when we have a STAR test, it's too late. So part of this goal actually begins in kindergarten. And I know that a lot of you that are joining us tonight, you may be a high school teacher that teaches only seniors, let's say. How does that work at kindergarten? What exactly happens? So when I talked about HB3, I talked about the required goals, but what was also in there is that we need to intervene on early childhood literacy and numeracy. So it's not just third grade at all. We're talking about beginning of year assessments when students walk in kindergarten. And that beginning of year assessment at the kindergarten level, where are they in their literacy and numeracy proficiency? So that's immediate. And actually, that is data that's reported to the state, and it's referred to as kinder readiness. And so it really sets the table for what we're going to do. So our interventions that our staff does, and just tireless intervention, rigorous work, begins at kindergarten. It continues the same model, and the model is you take that assessment on proficiency and literacy and numeracy, kindergarten, beginning of year. Then you check in again at mid-year, and you see how we're doing. And then that leads to intervention. That leads into addressing deficiencies in real time. And then finally, you have the end of the year assessment. And we're also tracking the end of the year assessment into the next grade level. And so we're going to track them all the way to third grade. And remember, this is only the first goal here. Goals 1 and 2 are very connected. I'll go ahead and go to number 2. Goal 1 was all about literacy. Goal 2, and before I do that, I'll make sure I touch base with the panel. Did anyone have anything to add on goal 1? Okay, I will move to goal 2. Goal 2 is to increase the percentage of third grade students that score meets grade level. Remember, that's on grade level or above on the STAR math this time. So we're talking about numeracy, and that it will increase 15 points between September of 23 to August of 28, our 5-year span. The same things apply here. And so again, just like I just mentioned, beginning, middle, and end of year, checking for our progress towards literacy and closing the gaps in the students who, let's say, did not meet kinder readiness. We cannot expect them at third grade all of a sudden to be successful. We've got to close those gaps. We've got to get those students there by the time they're in third grade. And I'll share a little story here that I really enjoy, specifically when I meet and visit our elementary schools. Our elementary schools, they are so vested in this process of closing the gaps and developing literacy and numeracy proficiencies. They have these data walls, and essentially every student is on the data wall, and it includes where they are. Are they on grade level? Because if they are, we want to increase that. But if they're not on grade level, we want to increase that, and we want to track it. And they're color coded to whether they're on grade level or above or below. And the joy that comes to these teachers when they come in, be it on a mid-year assessment or end of year, where they get to move that student's information, that student showed growth. And that's what this is all about. So when we say goals 1 and 2, it's not just, hey, how'd we do in third grade? This is a process that goes on throughout the year, and the board visits on this throughout the year. And so when that teacher comes in there and has the honor, I would say, to move that data into on grade level, I can only imagine how special that feels. And I can only imagine the amount of work that they put into to get there, because it's by no accident. So definitely kudos and appreciation go out to the rigorous work that is done beginning in kindergarten. Of course, we have pre-K as well. And so we're very excited about the work that's being done. You see that goal 1 and 2, again, literacy, numeracy. Third grade is the goal. However, we're tracking all the way through. And then, of course, another LSG goals we'll pick up after that, even after third grade. You're going to see that we're going to walk you all the way through graduation here tonight. Very purposeful, very intentional, keeping our eye on the ball, so to speak, and making sure we're making progress and that we're providing the resources to support this. Before I go to goal 3, panel, is there anything to add on goal 2 that you felt or reminded of as I went through that?
I think the thing for me that I keep coming back to is that the intentionality in it. And that's what I appreciate about LSG, is that we are ensuring by doing this process and using this tool and this framework that we are reaching all students, starting when they enter at Cherry all the way through when they graduate, as Dr. Mack will get to in a little bit. And it is a very intentional process, and it is not a process that's just haphazard. So I appreciate you saying that we have delved into this. The principals, your team have all taken it very seriously, because it is our students' education, and we are launching them into the future and ensuring that success starts not in 3rd grade, but it starts in pre-K and in kindergarten.
Anyone else?
And I'm happy that you said that, Dr. Mack, because I was nodding here with Chris and saying, okay, we've forgotten about pre-K. We can't forget about how crucial it is for our pre-K students to start now to get them to where they need to be. And that's done through the CLI. And that's an instrument that most of the parents may not understand. So we may need to get that out there. But it starts the moment that they walk into Cherry and continues all the way through high school.
That's tremendous. Thank you for sharing that. Anything else? Okay, I'll move on. But I have to say this, both of you reminded me of something that I feel is very important. I think our approach to LSG has definitely evolved over our time together. I really appreciated the principals taking the initiative to bring in teachers to share data, to bring in teachers to share products. I know multiple campuses have come in and they've showed us the strategies that they're using. So this is just not about monitoring. Every campus has also shared their action plan. So this is not just looking at scores. This is coming together and taking full ownership across the district. And we have actually even had some students come in and share some of the products that they have done. And I can tell you, I hope we see more of that. Principals, thank you so much, because it is all of us. And we're together on this. It's not anyone looking upon anyone. We're all together and we're all pushing together. And there's tremendous work going on, and it's very evident. And so I'll transition to goal 3. And this is, you will probably hear another acronym thrown around quite a bit here. We say CCMR, that's important. It's House Bill 3 goal. The legislature is completely focused on this. And I tell you what, I have a great value for it as well, because CCMR stands for college, career, and military readiness. And so that speaks to, kind of beginning with the end in mind. What do we hope for our students when we go from pre-K to senior year? And now my secondary teachers will probably say, oh, I've got this down completely. I've got all this down. Some of our parents may as well. I've got a senior, and we know all about CCMR. But again, just like I said earlier, it's important that our elementary teachers as well know and develop an understanding of, all right, what is it that we're looking to do at the end? What are we hoping for? And I got to tell you, this is a legislative initiative that I tell you what, you can't be more excited about, because when it comes down to, all right, we're going to measure how well we're serving our students through pre-K through 12. Are they life ready? And that's a term I like to use, just life ready. Whatever your walk of life is, it may be university, it may be a junior college, it may be straight to work. And so we're gonna dive into some of these, but I'll start with the goal. And the goal is to increase the percentage of graduates that are college, career, or military ready. And these will increase by 4 points between September of 2023 to August of 2028. Now, I must say this, and I'm sure Principal Mosier Flores will be glad I said this. I said those scores will increase 4 points. To this point, we've said 15 points. Why 4 points? Well, when you're performing so well, you don't have a lot of room. And so I did see a question come across that was kind of related to this, but I'm going to go ahead and unpack it right now. So the reason that it's 4 points and listed in 4 points is because The high school, as they are supported from pre-K all the way through junior high, all the way up to the high school, when it comes to CCMR and the importance of numeracy and literacy that lead to that. I can't say enough about the support that they're getting, but those results, those outcomes, if you will, already in the 90th percentile. And so I'm proud to share something with you that's hot off the press. I got it this month. And so this is very new data, and love good data, and especially great news like this. Unofficial, but we received a report from the state that the current projection for CCMR at Bay City ISD is 98%. Now, keep that number in mind, because we're going to talk a little bit about how you get there. 98%. And I've got all kinds of data pulled up on my computer. I will try to refrain from referencing it too much, but 98%, to say that's something to celebrate is the understatement of a lifetime. Tremendous success as again, we look forward to that becoming official, but nonetheless, I'm looking right at the document, received it this week. So tremendous news. Thank you, everyone, for your hard work in making that happen. Tremendous. And that's what we were talking about. Was like, what's the most important thing? The most important thing is, what are we turning out? Are our students life ready? And so let me get into some of the components of CCMR. And like I said, I've seen some questions on this, and the panel can reiterate and fill in the blanks that I miss when we get to the Q&A portion. But just a few things that I want to mention. Back in the day, we had a situation where military readiness was really heavy into the accountability. Are you signed up for to serve in the military? The state moved away from that and said, we need to focus more on college and career readiness, and specifically heavy on the college portion, and of course, career readiness right along with it. So some of the components that are there, there's an easy way to get it, and there's a rigorous way to get it. So college readiness, number one for Bay City ISD, is to pass a college readiness test. And if you think back, those are rigorous, much more rigorous than a state assessment. And that is one of our, and I'm looking at the data right now, we're showing in the most recent data, 82%. 82% of students made it through what we refer to as the TSI, or Texas Success Initiative Assessment. Tremendous bragging point. Very excited about that. We'll get back to your questions. Let me go to goal 4. So when we go to goal 4, it's a critical time in our students' lives, and that's at the junior high level. And so we definitely have got a tremendous team over there, and they leave nothing, no stone doesn't get turned over on that campus. Tremendous success. A lot of celebrations to go. The goal that came forth from the junior high was goal 4, the percentage of 7th grade students whose score meets grade level or above on the STAR math will increase 16 points between September of 2023 and August of 2028. So we move from a very heavy focus on literacy and numeracy. Numeracy's in there, but at the middle school, we know that numeracy is absolutely critical. And we thank the entire campus for the work that they do on crunching the data and bringing that to us as a need. And we will absolutely be tracking that. Real quick, on goal 4, when we talked about those elementary levels, if you recall, I was talking about beginning, middle, and end of year assessments. And so this is a little different. The way our secondary campuses address learning and progress monitoring is they use content-based assessments. And basically what that is, let's say at the end of every 6 weeks, you have an assessment, and you can see how the students did on that criteria for that 6 weeks. Then you can always spiral in those interventions into the second, third, and for the remainder of the 6 weeks. So their approach to progress monitoring is a little different. It's not beginning, middle, and end of year, but each 6 weeks. Goal 5, the percentage of first time, this is a high school goal, the percentage of first time English 1 end of course testers scoring meets again on grade level or above on the STAR will increase 10 points between September of 2023 and August of 2028. I was not surprised at all to see this as a goal, because I can tell you statewide, without any exception, anywhere in the state of Texas, the most difficult assessment in all of state assessment is English 1 EOC. There's an English 1 EOC for freshmen. There's an English 2 EOC for sophomores. Students statewide tend to do better their sophomore year. So a very relevant goal. Again, secondary. We're consistent in how we're doing this. Their progress monitoring is reported to us in the form of those CBAs, or content-based assessments, that happen throughout the year. So we're not depending on summative assessments at all. And so the summative assessment is great to see, and we're excited for that, but we're most interested in the formative work and intervention that leads up to that. And so those are the 5 goals. Again, we do have those, we do have those on the website. I do want you to review those and bring us additional questions. Hopefully more questions are coming through. But before we get to our Q&A, because we're definitely going to stick to under an hour here, we appreciate you being with us. Absolutely. And so the next thing on the agenda is I'd just like to visit with our panel once more. Now that we've covered, back to our goals, we've covered our definition of LSG. We've covered the 5 goals. Anything, I'll start with Ms. Westmoreland, anything you'd like to add?
I think you've done a great job covering why we're doing this and what the value is in LSG for our district, not only for our students, but also for our staff, to kind of give some direction. And we're not shooting at the dark. And like you said, if we're waiting until that big assessment that comes in the spring from the state, then we've waited too long, because we've wasted all that time prior to that big assessment. That we need to be checking and using a dipstick to check points every so often to ensure we're on success, to meet that goal of having students successful on that test, because that's where the state is saying, are you successfully educating kids, or are you not successfully educating kids? So I think that you've done a great job just explaining LSG, our goals, and that our goals, yes, are specific to a grade level, but then we have goal progress measures that hit every grade below. So thank you for your explanation.
Thank you. Mr. Scartamai. Anything?
Highlight how comprehensive the whole process is. You know, this is all about student outcomes, and it's not about post-secondary education. I was having a conversation with a parent the other day, and you know, the comments were that, you know, we're pushing kids into post-secondary, and we're not. Do we celebrate all of our TS percentages? Absolutely. We celebrate our kids and degrees, absolutely. But we celebrate certifications just as hard as celebrate all of our post-secondary success. So the comprehensiveness of the student outcomes is there. It's on student academics, and it's on graduation, and it's on, you know, industry-based certification in college, and just being ready for life.
James, I know your audio is cutting out a little bit. We're going to send someone in to help you out.
And I'll pick it up from here, and we can come back from James as well, but I couldn't agree more. It's comprehensive. You know, I mentioned earlier the rigorous TSI test, and the fact that, again, the data showing 82% of those students, 177 students meeting CCMR in that fashion. But absolutely, there's a number of different ways that are just as important. Here in our district, we have multiple, almost double digit, and by now we could have double digit because we grow our own adjunct faculty, college adjunct faculty working at the high school. So our students are able to harvest that dual credit, which is another message. So dual credit means receiving high school and college credit at the same time, delivered by staff members who are highly qualified and who care about our students. It's not like going into an auditorium where you have 150 freshmen in your Algebra 1, I shouldn't say Algebra 1, in your college algebra course. You have a teacher who is vested in you. The passing rates show that. And I think it's something that really sets the district apart from a lot of places, is to have that many adjunct professors working within our district. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the early college high school, and the fact that another way to achieve college readiness is to complete an associate's program. And so last year we were so proud. We had 2 students finish their associates ahead of the first cohort. So they were motivated, they got it done, but I'm excited to see this year our first true cohort of students going through the early college high school system and going all the way to associate's degree. And the last point that James was mentioning as well is, the importance of IBC's industry-based certifications. And so that means whether it's in the area of construction, welding, business, etc., you're receiving a certificate that is industry-based, recognized. This is credibility. And many of you at the secondary level would probably echo my sentiments that list probably changes a little too often because the state is really trying to focus that list of industry-based certifications into the most meaningful certifications that you could have and offer in your district. And from the data, I can see that we have at a minimum 9 pathways to an industry certification. And the level of work and planning that went into that, I cannot even imagine. Currently, we're working with principals at the high school and the middle school to develop industry-based certifications all the way down. And we have had this historically. This has been in place. We're just looking again to see how intentional are we? What are some of the things we want to focus on to start at that junior high level all the way through high school and get them the industry-based certifications. Priscilla, anything you want to add?
You nailed it, Dr. Mack. But the only thing is that it's bad to have a pre-K teacher on board, because I'm always tell you, and that's our beginning, is that how crucial it is for them to have a good foundation in pre-K. But I was sitting here chatting with my, what are you, my bestest?
Yeah.
And we were just talking as y'all was talking, so I'm gonna let Chris tell you his thoughts on that also.
Absolutely.
On the CCMR, that's my question always. Are we gonna track them from junior high to high school? That those things are already in place?
Right. Well, CCMR is extremely important, and Dr. Mack did a great job of outlining that. But and really the main thing is the broad picture of the whole district from the beginning to the end. And Dr. Mack really solidified that when he talked about the fact that what is the end goal? And when we measure CCMR, we're really measuring the overall program of the district and our ability to prepare our students to be able to be either college or career or military ready. And so I'm sure one of the things that Dr. Mack will talk about is where our kids are at when they come to us, and the amount of space that we have to make up to bring them where they need to be. It's quite phenomenal that our kids come to us at the readiness that they do, that we're able to get them to 98%. CCMR life ready. And so I think that's a testament to the work that's being done as soon as they step in the school at the pre-K level.
Yes, and I'll go ahead and cover that real quick. Ms. Robinson, did you have anything else?
No, that was it. Thank you.
And for the first time, I was doing so well by saying Ms. Robinson, Ms. Westmoreland, and I enjoy y'all's company so much. I quickly said Priscilla, but that speaks to another, I think, big point in LSG is that we do, as Mr. Tennant says, we're trying to get to a level of finishing each other's sentences. We're very comfortable with each other. But just real quick, back to the statement that Mr. Townsend made. Absolutely. So LSG is also all about transparency. You put those numbers out there, no matter what they look like, as a team, and we work together. When you have a number that needs improvement, that's not anyone's fault. It's just not. For example, consider this. Earlier, I said that kindergarten, when you get to kindergarten, you have that beginning of your assessment, and it measures kinder readiness. So in other words, it is important to understand the majority of our students start their schooling as kindergartners. So it makes absolute sense to see where are we when they arrive. And so I can share with you that approximately in the last data that was released by the state, 33% of our students were kinder ready. So that means there's gaps. That's nothing to be afraid of, and it's certainly nothing to be ashamed of. But that ground has to be made up. And so if you have another district that says, maybe 66%, or some of the districts may say, because I've seen the data, may say 85%. I hope that our staff will hear this number and celebrate the fact that at the end of this journey of education in Bay City ISD, we're at 98%. And I encourage everyone to shop around, look at those numbers. I assure you that is incredible. And so when you consider coming in the door in kinder, and I will tell you, I've looked at different years that sometimes kinder readiness has been lower than 33%. I've seen it as low as 19. That's just me being transparent. Again, it's no one's fault, but I will say that our staff and our team are doing amazing miracle level work to get students from a 33%, the whole team, 33% kinder readiness, all the way to 98% college, career, and military ready. And that's what we really focus on. Yes, the STAR is there, and I saw some questions on that, and the STAR is in our goals, but we prefer to focus on how we're preparing life-ready graduates, and the news is good. And so I encourage staff, don't in any way take it as a negative. We know we have some ground to make up, and you're doing a phenomenal job. And so I'll get off my soapbox there for a minute. I think let's go to some questions maybe that we've received. Ms. Arlett, if you could just kick that off, and we'll see if we can answer some questions.
Yeah, thank you. And as a reminder, at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A feature. You can click on that and your question should come to me privately. And we'll try and address it this evening, if not via email after this meeting. So the first question is going to be for President Westmoreland. What's the difference between the school board's role and the superintendent's role in our district?
So I like to explain it in the way of, really, as a school board member, we have three main responsibilities. We set policy within our school district, we hire and fire a superintendent, and the last thing that we do is we oversee the budget process. So really, those are the main three things. If you are thinking about school board and what our role is, we don't get into the nitty-gritty of what curriculum we're going to use. We may have a conversation about it in our boardroom because we are transparent and we work as a team of 8, but that is not a decision that is based that we get to make. That is a decision that Dr. Mack makes. So for what Dr. Mack does, he does pretty much everything else. So anything that you can think of past those three things, that falls under Dr. Mack. Now, does he do all of it? No, he has a team, but he is responsible for those things. Once a year, we do an evaluation that's right after the first of the year, and we give him 3 things to really work on. We try to keep it to 3 to 5. This past year, it was 3 things to work on through the year that he reports back. If you watched the last board meeting that we had, he did a state of the district, kind of an update on what was given to him and where we are. So those are the things that he is responsible for. You can go back to that meeting and watch that exact that presentation that he gave, because it's on the screen. But that is kind of the difference in the roles. I really do like to just keep it pretty simple to the 3 things: the budget, policy, and hiring and firing the superintendent, which I think personally that we did a fantastic job in hiring Dr. McHazlett.
Thank you for that. Okay,
I want to personally thank her for that response. Thank you.
So Trustee Scartermeyer, we'll test out your audio right now. How can school boards affect student outcomes?
Awesome. And can you hear me okay? Okay. So just expanding on what, President Westmoreland said, one of our functions is setting policy. And so what we do in general is we set the vision for the district. And so using policy setting as a tool to set our vision, we decided to use a tool called LSG, or Lone Star Governance. The first thing that Tony forced us to agree on was that student outcomes will not change until adult behaviors change. And so we all got together and agreed that in order to do what's in the best interest of all of our students, we were going to have to come together, have a like mind, and focus ourselves on some goals for the district. So the next thing we did was we set those 5 goals as Dr. Mack outlined for us. We did that collaboratively with the superintendent and the staff. And so everybody has buy-in on that. The next thing we do is we meet monthly. We meet monthly to do a few things. We want to hear updates on how these goals are going. We want to make sure that we're focusing more than half of our time on student outcomes. And we want to collaborate with our staff and students again and talk about the challenges of maybe why we're not making as much progress as we would like, or celebrate the successes. And if one campus is having some success, then let's share that information, across the district. So now this isn't to say that, we haven't always wanted to have academic success, but if we keep doing the same thing we've always done, we're always going to have the same results. And so we were a very good district, very high graduation rates, great academic success. But we all agreed that we want to be an amazing district. We want to push through that B and get to an A, right? We want more students. We already have increasing enrollment. We want more increasing enrollment, right? We already have teachers coming here to work. We want more teachers to want to come here and work. And so we just want to continue that success.
Thank you. And we are primarily addressing the questions that we received in advance, but we're also getting a lot of great questions this evening. If I don't get to anyone's question, we'll do our best to get back with you, but I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who participated. This is one of our submitted questions. So Trustee Robinson, knowing these are 5-year goals, how are the goals determined?
When we're all talking, the one thing that we see our district is as a family. We are family here, but even at the family, we also have different ways in how to deal with them and come about the changes. The one is that the goals began on our campuses, and from our campus administrators team, it comes over to the district administrators, and we review it and make it. Then the superintendent, talking to them constantly, and he meets with them weekly, he talks about those goals. And when he brings those goals back to the board with those recommendations, knowing that this is a big collaboration from the whole team, we get together, look at those goals, and then decide if there should be any changes made. And most of the time we do have something to change, but it's not all the time. And that's because we talk constantly. We are now on board and operating as a board of 8, and along with the district and the campus administrators, which makes us unique in itself.
Thank you for that. This next question, I had a prepared question, but actually one came in this evening that worded it a little bit better. So I'm going to go to someone who posted this evening. And this question is going to be also for you, Trustee Robinson. How are we tracking growth? Is it tracked by each student moving from each grade level, or is it how each 3rd grade class does every year?
Okay, we monitor 3rd grade heavily, and what we do on the lower levels definitely will determine what our 3rd grade class is going to do. But we do monitor them each year. Each year, the 3rd grade is monitored. And we also monitor pre-K, kinder, and 1st grade. We need to make sure that they are on track. And we do that by testing them at the beginning, at the middle, and at the end. And all of that data is put together, and we are able to come up and track students and also grade levels to see how their performances are.
Okay, our next question is for President Westmoreland. This is a consolidation of several questions that we received that were kind of asking the same thing. 2 of the 5 LSG goals focus on increasing 3rd grade STAR scores. We need to focus on building a more solidified foundation for our students before they get to 3rd grade. As a district, what are we currently doing, or what are the plans moving forward with holding the other elementary schools accountable?
So going back to what Dr. Mack said in the beginning is, yes, we have the 5 goals, and 3 of them are very specific to, I think it was 3, maybe, sorry, 2 of them are very specific to 3rd grade. But in that conversation, he was talking about that we also have what we call GPMs, or goal progress measures that will play into that role, so to that goal. So we have a goal for third grade reading, but we back it down to reach that third grade goal. What do we need to be doing in kindergarten? What do we need to be doing in first grade? And what do we need to be doing in second grade to ensure that our students meet the success that we need them and we want them to meet in third grade? So I think our curriculum, everything kind of revolves around that as we start to say, okay, we start planning backwards, kind of that backward design, keeping that in mind of this is our goal in third grade, but to reach that goal, we have to start down in pre-K and kindergarten.
Okay, this next question was about CCMR, but I believe we already addressed what is CCMR. So I'm going to jump to the next one for Dr. McHazlett. What is the history of our percentage CCMR graduates over the last few years, and how does BCISD plan to increase this measurement? I know we addressed some of these already, but if there's anything you'd like to add regarding CCMR, this would be the time.
Well, absolutely. I can say that over years of hard work at the high school, those CCMR scores have always been exceptional, and they've gone to a level which I shared was 98%, which is trust me, I don't have the words for that. So it has always been on an upward trajectory that is CCMR. So how can we go about, well, maybe bolstering and refining that process? I also mentioned what we're doing right now is we're meeting with the campus principals at junior high and high school. And there's also a critical piece, and I know they work so hard on this. Junior high and high school also did a needs assessment on career pathways. So as you said, as we develop and refine this already stellar CCMR, I think it goes now to just enriching the process in that 98 is something to be proud of for sure, but always looking for those next opportunities, such as what is the most current industry-based certification that is going to garner the best salary, the best quality of life that our students can have. So we will continue to refine that process, and we will continue to recruit heavily in that area. With the recruiting piece, I should mention there's a couple of pathways there for CCMR teachers. So with a CCMR teacher, a lot of that comes from work-based experience, and I'm sure a lot of folks would agree. If you have a certain certification, let's say through a traditional pathway, becoming a teacher is great. But additionally, we have to certainly respect what a welder brings with critical experience to the table, what a construction person does. And we have a very robust business. I think there's 3 strands related to business. It's tremendous. We're covering a lot of ground. We don't want any of our motions to be wasted. We don't want to be going in directions to where we're inefficient and really helping our staff to do the best job they can. So that's going to come from things like the survey that our campuses did, the course selections and seeing course interests, the recruiting pieces. And I will add to this, I'm very passionate. I'll go ahead and say it out loud. I'm very passionate about bringing CTSOs. Okay, so I can't get away with the acronym. Career and technical student organizations. I'm very excited about over 30 extracurricular programs that we have here in this district. Another avenue relating to what we just asked, where are we going with CCMR? Refine the process and definitely add the CTSOs, or the career and technical student organizations, where these same kids that they compete in athletics, fine arts, UIL academics, theater, all of these things. We can do this with career and technical education as well via the CTSOs, which have state level competitions. And I love competition. I think it's great for kids. And I look forward to working with the principals. We've been meeting on this already to bring that next level of engagement. We talk about student engagement. Are they paying attention in class? There's also an obligation for school engagement. Are we meeting the students where they are? And are we finding their interests and affinities? And I think CTSOs will be another big part of that, where students, just like they do in all other extracurricular activities, it gives them a reason to be at school, to enjoy competition, to enjoy teamwork.
One thing I want to add real quick to the CCMR conversation that I have enjoyed seeing and watching come to fruition is our collaboration with business partners and the county and our city chamber, bringing those business partners in to have a conversation and to make sure that what we are certifying our students in, what the certificates that they can get within our school system is able to be used in the workplace here in Bay City and what our industry needs. So I think that that's a really neat thing that we're working on. And I know Dr. Mack has had several conversations with different plants on what is it that you truly need, so we can be providing what you need, so you can hire from Matagorda County and Bay City ISD and not bring people in from the outside. I think it's very important.
That's a great point, because, you know, we have had the Education Coalition meeting that we had. Board members have been out there at parent nights, presenting at Lions Club, Rotary. The first time this year in August, we had a community leaders and business leaders summit to bring everybody together. So thank you for that reminder. Absolutely. We need this, as we said in the beginning, we need broad community ownership of these goals that are so important to our life-ready graduates. And I can say that I look forward. I know we're running very short on time because we're definitely keeping it under an hour. But I will say that I definitely appreciate every single person who is here with us tonight. I hope the word spreads that there was something, maybe an area of interest, maybe a theme that we can come back with. We need to be doing more of this. And I hope it was convenient for our audience. And I look forward to reviewing your questions. So I know we're short on time, so I'll throw it back to Lee at this time. And
Yes, I just have
just
a couple
appreciate
more
everybody.
questions.
Oh, okay.
One is a follow-up question to the CCMR that you guys were discussing. You spoke about community involvement and staff involvement. We did have a question about what there is for parent involvement, specifically how parents can get more information on how to be involved in the pathways that their children choose.
Oh, I'd love to jump into that. And anyone, I'll be brief. If you are not receiving, oh my goodness, amazing campus newsletter celebrating everything that's going on to the campus and a lot of the parent-teacher organization activities as well, I strongly encourage you to reach out to your principal, engage in that, make sure you're getting those newsletters. We are here for our community. You're welcome in our school districts, and we're excited about the work that we're doing. So please reach out to those principals. If you're not getting those newsletters, and I bet even if you're a grandparent on this call, if you were to email that principal, I bet you they will put you on the newsletter list and you'll get it as well. So I think that would be a great way.
Thank you. And our final question for this evening is going to be to Trustee Scardamai. Are these goals all about teaching to the STAR test? And what is the role of the STAR test in measuring success?
That's a great question, and I'm glad we have just enough time to answer that. So no, LSG is not about teaching to the STAR test. All LSG is a framework or an organization for the board to focus on the continuous improvement of student outcomes, not just a test, but the continuous improvement. The STAR test, though, I mean, not dancing around the subject, it is the current method that we use to evaluate whether our students are mastering the TEKS. In my opinion, LSG actually takes the focus off of the STAR test, and I'll tell you why. So we have 5 goals, and we've gone over those. Trustee Westmoreland told us we have GPMs, goal progress measures. So each goal has 3 goal progress measures. So now we have 15 things that we're focusing on. These sub goals, these goal progress measures, are the things that we can directly affect. We can move the needle in these different areas that will actually move the end goal, right? So we can't just focus on the end goal. We have 3 things we do that move that goal. Now, when you unpack that, all of the elements of the CCMR, we're focusing on learning objectives. We're focusing on the 3 years before they take the STAR test. We're focusing content-based, examinations throughout the year. None of that was even remotely mentioning STAR. So we actually are taking the focus off of STAR, with the end result being that, yes, our STAR results should improve. So hopefully that takes a lot of pressure off of teachers and students in the end, knowing that we're doing a lot of work to get them ready.
Great, thank you. So that's all the questions we had prepared for this evening, but I did want to remind everyone that we do have our school board meetings once a month. I don't believe there is one for December. Our next scheduled one is January 16th at 6 p.m. But all of our school board meetings are available on our YouTube channel, BCISD board meeting stream. So if you ever have any questions or feel like a lot of this was new information to you, it's stuff that's discussed in every single board meeting. So we invite you to check us out in person or follow via live stream or follow up afterwards with a recorded session. Did anybody have anything they wanted to add before we close?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.